Now, here's Arthur Fromer.
And this is the travel show in which we talk about vacations. Welcome. I'm Arthur Fromer, appearing with my daughter, Pauline Fromer. And for the next hour, we're going to talk about travel. And we'll be taking your calls on that subject at 1-800-544-7070. Or you can reach us by email directed to worradionet.com, clicking on The Nation and then on Traveling with the Fromers. Before we take those calls, I'd like to talk about an increasingly popular travel activity, which is river cruising. Cruising the famous rivers of the world on luxurious river boats, housing around 140 passengers apiece. Recently, a very, very famous travel figure, Jimmy Murphy, as everyone calls him, a man well known for years as the president of Brendan Vacations, which is a major land tour operator. Well, recently, Jimmy Murphy surprised us all by taking over a river cruise company called AmaWaterways, A-M-A-Waterways, Ama. I was so intrigued by that change of careers that I invited Jimmy Murphy to stop by our studio and answer a few questions. And here's how we approached that subject with him. Jimmy Murphy, you were so well known for so many years as the president of the famous Brendan Vacations, which operates land tours on the ground from city to city. What made you decide to switch over to river cruises?
Very simply, I thought river cruising was a thing of the future, and I'm glad to say that it would appear to be the correct decision.
And do the figures support your expectation? I mean, is river cruising doing well now?
Absolutely. River cruising is literally leading the way in terms of travel agency sales.
Isn't that remarkable? And so you founded AmaWaterways. You called it AmaWaterways. Is that how one pronounces it?
We pronounce it AmaWaterways, yes.
AmaWaterways. You founded that several years ago. How big a river cruise company has it become?
Well, it has become that starting in March of this year, we will have 7 ships on the Rhine and the Danube. We will have 1 on the Rhone in France, 1 on the Douro in Portugal, and 1 coming down the Mekong River from Siem Reap in Cambodia down to Saigon or Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam.
And how many passengers does every cruise vessel carry?
150 passengers.
150 passengers are carried in luxury, too.
In luxurious accommodation. We have duplicated a first-class hotel room.
And people,
but on a ship.
People have a private bath, they have a big room, and they have a big window through which they can see the countryside pass by.
Do you think it's that ability to only unpack once and still have basically a guided tour in many different areas of the world that is making it beat the land tours that you used to run?
That is part of the advantage. The big advantage is that people have been cruising in the Mediterranean and in the Baltic and all of the places that ships go to. But in terms of Europe, the big ships only touch the periphery of Europe. And what we're doing is we're bringing people down what were the original highways of Europe.
Sure,
down the
rivers.
main rivers. And it's 2,000, well, no, I have to... It's 1,600 miles from Amsterdam to the Black Sea.
Oh my.
And that brings you through Europe. And you're going to cities and towns which fortunately were not damaged during World War II. So you're seeing a very old Europe up close.
And you are mainly cruising on the Rhine and the Danube. Those are your 2 main rivers, but you go to all the others as well.
Yes, but you see the Rhine and the Danube, going back all the way to Charlemagne, people thought, could we ever connect the two? Well, in 1993, they built a canal which brings you over the European continental divide, as if you were going over the Rockies, but not as high, and you go up one side and down the other, and you come up from the Main River and go down into the Danube, or vice versa.
So you cruise not only on the Rhine, but also on the Main and then on the Danube.
Yes.
And there's also an offshoot along the Moselle River at some point.
Correct. If you want to start in Paris, you can come down to Trier, which is the oldest city in Germany. And then you join the ship there and go down the Moselle and either continue down the Rhine and the Danube, or you can go north up to Amsterdam.
Jimmy, how does AmaWaterways compare with the other river cruise companies in terms of price, in terms of size, in terms of luxury?
In terms of price, we're competitive with everybody out there, although we don't go for the trick of offering 2 for 1. I was told the other day that if you offer 2 for 1 or a 60% discount, people will take the 2 for 1. But anyway, we don't get involved.
You don't do things like that. You don't discount that much.
We have a room which is second to none on the rivers. We have a bathroom that you get into the shower, you pull the door behind you, and if you drop the soap, you don't have to open the door to pick the soap up.
It's of a reasonable size.
There are 172 square feet, so they're a fine-sized cabin, either with twin beds or with a queen-size bed. We also have the newest fleet, because our oldest ship now is 4 years old.
Oh, really? So everything is a recently built ship.
Yes, and they're built to our standards. For instance, and it's a very important for instance, when we were building the ship, we allowed room for bicycles. So we have between 30 and 40 bicycles on board. If you didn't build a ship for that purpose, well, then you wouldn't have room for bicycles. So our competitors are, in fact, one has put on 6 bicycles so that he can say his bicycles, and others don't put on bicycles.
But it must be hard to get one of those 6. So you're really the river cruising company for active travelers, for people who might want to ride along the path instead of just stay on the ship all day.
Absolutely. And again, you see, those pathways were originally for the horses pulling the barges on the rivers. And now they are fully fledged bicycle paths going through little villages. You can stop off and have hot chocolate and whatever you want, and it's really a great way to travel.
And that is a unique resource of AmaWaterways, AmaWaterways. You also equip each one of your cabins with Wi-Fi, I understand.
We have in each cabin, it's not just Wi-Fi, we have a computer, so that initially, and I'm going to wander a little, initially we were going to charge people for use of the computers, for the internet access. We found that people get annoyed when they lose the connection going into the locks. So we give it, so now it's for free, right? So you have a computer in your cabin with free internet access. This turned out to be a wonderful addition in that people stay in touch with home, and they are telling them how good, and thank goodness it is always good, how good the vacation is going, and where they are, and all of the things that people used to put on daily postcards, they are now putting on the internet. For free.
And they don't have to stand in line for the use of the 1 or 2 computers that the other lines maintain in their bar areas, as I experienced on my own river cruise a couple of years ago.
Every cabin comes with its own screen and its own keyboard. And as I say, the internet access is free, and it's 24 hours a day.
Jimmy, can one of our listeners book an AmaWaterways cruise for, let's say, $200 per person per day? Would that be within the range of what one can pay?
It's closer to $250 per day.
$250,
just to be honest about it.
For which you get meals cooked by European chefs. All of the chefs are Europeans,
all of the staff are European. All speak English. All of the announcements are made in one language, English. All of the passengers are English speaking.
I hope they all have as beautiful accents as you do.
Oh, they do, as a matter of fact. Not that I think mine is beautiful.
We don't have to ask where you were born, do we?
No.
Jimmy, if any of our listeners should want to get additional information on AmaWaterways, AmaWaterways, first of all, what website do they go to?
www.AmaWaterways, AmaWaterways.com. Or they can call on an 800. They can call on an 800 number.
And what is that number?
626-0126.
So it's 800 first, and then
626-0126.
And tell the telephone receptionist who answers the phone that you were given that number by none other than Jimmy Murphy. Jimmy Murphy, one of the great figures in tour operating for so many years, who instead of quieting down and slowing up in the course of his life has now taken on this huge challenge of running one of the major river cruise ship lines of Europe.
Well, I am very fortunate in that as I have as a partner, a man who had been president in the past of a river cruise company and had been vice president of another cruise company earlier than that. And we got together simply because we were both unhappy with the way the product was being sold, and we thought we could improve on it.
And you certainly have, by equipping every one of your ships with 30 bicycles, 30 to 40 bicycles.
Which are free of charge,
and
right?
with
That's
Wi-Fi. And we thank you so much. We are so grateful to you for taking the time to come to our studios and to be interviewed on The Travel Show.
Well, thank you very kindly for having me.
And that was Jimmy Murphy, and I can't emphasize too much that for decades he was one of the most prominent figures in all the world in the operation of land tours of various countries. He was the president and owner of Brendan Tours, and then when most people would have retired, he took on an entirely new challenge, which is the startup of a company called AmaWaterways, which has become one of the leading operator of river cruises in Europe and as well as in China, or rather in Southeast Asia, in the Mekong River, in Cambodia, in Vietnam, and so forth. And then he came on our program. We were delighted to have him. We have to take a break at this point. We'll be back with more of The Travel Show in just a few moments from now.